Big thanks to all the members for directly supporting my content here on the platform. And remember, if you want to support as well, the missile knows where the join button is at all times. Hello pilots, how's it going? Life treating you good? Tell me down below. Well, I'm doing great, especially when I'm not playing this game. Now let me show you one of the nastiest pay-to-win cases I've ever seen after almost 14 years playing this ticking time bomb. And to kick off the intro of the video, which you can totally skip if you find it boring or already know what's up with this jet, of course I'm talking about the NF5A from the French line. It's basically just like a regular F5 sitting at 10.7, comes with 45 countermeasures, even though I recorded this video 2 days before the update when it still had 90 total drops. Whatever, that's not going to change much in a battle rating where a missile is a one-pop deal anyway. But the real steroid is in this boy's engine. You might be thinking, but Karma, that engine just looks a little bit stronger in the hangar, so it doesn't seem that pay to win. Yeah, true, it doesn't look that much stronger when you check the static power in the hangar. But the thing is, my friends, it's all about how different this engine performs in flight. Statistically, it seems harmless, but all these turbofan engines in the air get something called the ram effect, which is basically dynamic compression. This means at high speed, the air gets compressed by the speed of the jet itself, making it denser and letting more oxygen into the combustion, which gives the engine more power. And this engine, my friend, is way better at that than the engine on an F5A or even an F5E at 11.0. But for some reason, it's still at 10.7. And if it's up to the players flying it, it might even drop to 10.3. That's what's really disappointing. In short, you're basically an F5A with 2 good infrared missiles and a way better ability to hold and win dogfights at this battle rating, especially if you're the kind of player who knows how to keep up sustained turns for a long time. If you're the type who just locks onto an enemy like a Minecraft mob, you're not gonna see much benefit here. For now, I've already summed up the most important parts, so let's get into the actual matches. Your average match at this battle rating is going to look something like this, mostly because there's a lot of people who just can't hold back and end up rushing bad plays and getting out of position. I always like to let people mess up their own game before I jump into the action, and sometimes you can snag some free frags off of 10s and Su-25s. That's exactly what I'm about to do, since the A-10 is actually a pretty strong support jet when it's working with the team, and I definitely don't want one of those aiming at me when I'm in a late game duel. Now, I know most people's attention is on a bunch of other things, not on me, so it's the perfect moment for a lethal attack. The way I use the missiles, I honestly don't expect to get a lot of frags like I just did, mainly because I know this battle rating is all about gun kills, so any kill I get like that is just a bonus. And of course, I always try to stay fast. If I slow down, even an F-104 with that kind of positioning can be dangerous. In this bracket, the Vulcan doesn't forgive. But the funniest part was hitting that guy with severe tail control damage, and it only counted as a hit. Let me know down below if you've had really bad experiences with this new severe damage mechanic, and if you think it should be improved. Back to the match. Notice how I always go for similar plays when dealing with A-10s. Do you know why that is? That's it. When you go for well thought out plays, this is the result. I'd say taking out the A-10s and cutting off their chances to play as a team was a vital step for the win. Now it's pretty much impossible for the enemy team to make a comeback. All that's left is to enjoy the insane airframe on my jet, go after the last enemies still flying, and try to get some frags. Since they're all spread out, it's just about hunting them down one by one. And speaking of hunting them down one by one, check out this frogfoot fighting hard all the way to the end. For the second match, I'm bringing a game in a way I think I've never done before on the channel. Basically, I spent a long time dueling with a really experienced guy right at the start. I wasn't planning to record a match to post, so I didn't have the recorder on. He damaged me a bit, and I had to rearm. It was basically a boring duel between two F5s. Anyone who's dueled knows this matchup is super strict. And yeah, dueling with him took long enough for my whole team to die, but I still think there's a way to win. So I figured this might be a good chance to show you just how OP the NF5A can be. So let's get into it. You're already watching me getting hunted by two enemies at the airfield. I think it's just them here, so it's not that bad for me, since I won both head-ons. I really wanted that missile to connect, because even though he's damaged, it's just not worth chasing him. He could call for help from a teammate, so I'm just gonna go fix my jet as fast as possible. Here I am ready for action again, and in this next play specifically, you're gonna see just how powerful this F5 is. A good player can easily fight against multiple enemies without getting punished if you use sustained flight efficiently. And of course, being good at head-ons helps a ton. With the J7 starting the fight already critted, it's not really a 1 versus 2 anymore. It's more like a 1 versus 1.5, or whatever you want to call it. Since the F5 is the only real threat right now, he's my priority. If it's convenient, like if it's super easy, I might try to take out the J7 right away, but for now, all my focus has to be on dealing with the F5. Even though my jet is way better performance-wise, this guy's been flying way longer than me, so maybe his fuel is running low. If I had chosen to go for a hard engage, I might not even be alive at this point. So for me, it's still a fight that's all about patience. Now that my teammate's trying to help me, I don't have to rush when going after the F5. I can pick attacks that make it impossible for him to counter. The advantage is ours here, so there's no need to take a risk just to get this frag. Well, that's it. Congrats, Nacho. You were a tough opponent. It was an honor fighting you. Now it's not even about questioning if the win is possible. I'm just battling against the clock because the end of the match is close. If the match had a 40 or 60-minute time limit, I'd 100% win. But at this point, I just don't know anymore. And to be honest, since there's still a lot to do and not much time left, I'm just gonna leave this MiG-21 with my teammate and go after the other enemies that are spread out across the map. My teammate seems fine. The remaining targets are still on the other side of the map coming back from their airfields. Either way, they're gonna come try to fight, so I'm gonna go refuel and fix this damage on my jet for like the 1000th time in a row. My teammate really did a good job here. He's not the best in the world from what I saw on his stat card, but he pushed past his own limits to try and win. So that's already awesome, especially since the enemies fell into a trap that's almost impossible to go wrong for me and the MiG. So now it's just time to enjoy the feast. At this point, I didn't want to be the only one getting the frag. After all, he did most of the work. But just look at what happens. Honestly, I don't even know what to say. Maybe he got nervous because I complimented him. What happened next is that I actually found the last enemy, but by then it was already too late. And as always, for the last match, I leave my conclusion along with the full match. No cuts and no annoying voice talking in your ear, so let's get to it. The jet is super good, especially considering the battle rating it's at. There's just no competition for this guy. In my opinion, it even outclasses the J7D by a wide margin, and the J7D is already known as a broken jet, as a lot of you know. The difference is that this jet here has a higher skill ceiling multiplier to get results, so I think that's why people don't really feel it's that OP. Still, I don't think it's worth it for the price. Nothing in this game is worth it to me, especially if it's super unbalanced. If you look at the prices, nothing is worth it in this game. I mean, I buy DLCs in Forza Horizon 5 for like $5 or $10, and you get a bunch of cool vehicles that aren't game breakers. I just don't see a reason to invest in this game anymore. The second problem for me is the way Snail does things. If you've been following me for a while, you know my opinion, and how much I hate this metagaming approach from Snail that's just about profit. But to sum it up with an analogy, Snail is like a restaurant that doesn't believe it can sell good food to its customers. In their view, you can't have your own food, you have to go hungry and only eat what they give you. But enough talking, enjoy the rest of the video. Well, gentlemen, that's all from me for today. I hope you enjoyed the content. Leave a comment about what you think of all this. Your feedback is super important to me. The video ends, but the chat lives on. Thanks for supporting my work. Karma out.